Hi there! I'm Sprinkles, Santa Claus's special elf. Because everything is special with sprinkles. Santa Claus knows you're special too, and he has something to say to you. So listen close as Santa Claus shares holiday cheer with you. You can leave a special message for Santa Claus and get on the nice list at www.santaclaussays.net. Now here is the big man himself, Santa Claus!
Ho, 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 ho! Merry Christmas to all the boys and girls of the world from every continent and every nation and race and creed and color. They come to Santa Claus here at SantaClausSays.net, welcoming you to my workshop here at the North Pole as we get ever closer to Christmas Eve when I'm coming to see you. Here on SantaClausSays.net, we are here to share three things with you. Christmas cheer, and Twinkles helps us to do just that, to have good Christmas cheer. We also share secondarily a Christmas story of adventure with you. And then we also read a letter to Santa. We want you to know here at SantaClausSays.net that you can send me a message in three different ways. You can go to the website, SantaClausSays.net, and you can leave me a voicemail, or you can leave me a text message, and I get my text messages right here on my purple cell phone, and that is how I get those. And then I also can receive an email. You can go to, what you do is you go to SantaClausSays.net/present, and that is where I will send you a present if you send me your email, and we'll be in communication together. And I answer my voice messages, and I answer my text and my emails. So please send me your messages, and we will be in communication. What we like to do here is to share love and joy and Christmas cheer, and to share it with you, the children of the world. There's our glockenspiel chimes, which means it is story time here at SantaClausSays.net. We've been reading for the entire Christmas time here of 2023, the book, The Life and Adventures of Santa Claus, by L. Frank Baum. He also wrote the book called The Wizard of Oz, and many of you are familiar with that. And the book comes to us by the courtesy of the people at the Gutenberg Project, so we thank them for this as well. We're reading the book, and we're talking about the manhood of Jesus now. And we read if you miss any of the readings that we do, you can go back to previous episodes of Santa Claus Says, and you can catch up that way. And don't forget to listen every day during Christmas time on YouTube, on Facebook, and on Apple Podcast, and at the website, SantaClausSays.net, to catch the episodes where we read the book, The Life and the Adventures of Santa Claus. Today, we're talking about the beginning part of the chapter called How the Ryls Colored the Toys. And the Ryls are the beginnings of what we now know as elves, and they helped Santa Claus color the toys. And that's where we're at now. So let's begin the reading. A hush lay on Laughing Valley now. Snow covered it like a white spread, and pillows of downy flakes drifted before the dwelling where Claus sat feeding the blaze of the fire. The brook gurgled on beneath a heavy sheet of ice, and all living plants and insects nestled close to Mother Earth to keep warm. The face of the moon was hid by dark clouds, and the wind delighted in the wintry sport, pushing and whirling the snowflakes in many directions, so they could get no chance to fall to the ground. Claus heard the wind whistling and shrieking in its play, and thanked the good Canucks again for his comfortable shelter. Blinky washed her face lazily and stared at the coals with a look of perfect content. The toy cat sat opposite the real one and gazed straight ahead, as toy cats should. Suddenly, Claus heard a noise that sounded different from the voice of the wind. It was more like a wail of suffering and despair. He stood up and listened, but the wind, growing boisterous, shook the door and rattled the windows to distract his attention. He waited until the wind was tired, and then, still listening, he heard once more the shrill cry of distress. Quickly he drew on his coat, pulled his cap over his eyes, and opened the door. The wind dashed in and scattered the embers over the hearth, at the same time blowing Blinky's fur so furiously that she crept under the table to escape. Then the door was closed and Claus was outside, peering anxiously into the darkness. The wind laughed and scolded and tried to push him over, but he stood firm. The helpless flakes stumbled against his eyes and dimmed his sight, but he rubbed them away and looked again. Snow was everywhere. White and glittering, it covered the earth and filled the air. The cry was not repeated. Claus turned to go back into the house, but the wind caught him unawares, and he stumbled and fell across a snowdrift. His hand plunged into the drift and touched something that was not snow. This he seized and, pulling it gently toward him, found it to be a child. The next moment he had lifted it into his arms and carried the child into the house. The wind followed him through the door, but Claus shut it out quickly. He laid the rescued child on the hearth, and brushing away the snow, he discovered to be Weekum, a little boy who lived in a house beyond the valley. Claus wrapped a warm blanket around the little one and rubbed the frost from his limbs. Before long, the child opened his eyes and, seeing where he was, smiled happily. Then Claus warmed milk and fed it to the boy slowly, while the cat looked on with sober curiosity. Finally, the little one curled up in his friend's arms and sighed and fell asleep, and Claus, filled with gladness that he had found the wanderer, held him closely while he slumbered. The wind, finding no more mischief to do, climbed the hill and swept on toward the north. This gave the weary snowflakes time to settle down to earth, and the valley became still again. The boy, having slept well in the arms of his friend, opened his eyes and sat up. Then, as a child will, he looked around the room and saw all that it contained. "Your cat is a nice cat, Claus," he said at last. "Let me hold it." But Puss objected and ran away. "The other cat won't run," Claus continued the boy. "Let me hold that one." Claus placed the toy in his arms, and the boy held it lovingly and kissed the tip of its wooden ear. "How did you get lost in the storm?" Weekum asked Claus. "I started to walk to my auntie's house and lost my way," answered Weekum. "Were you frightened?" "It was cold," said Weekum, "and the snow got in my eyes, so I could not see. Then I kept on till I fell in the snow without knowing where I was, and the wind blew the flakes over me and covered me up." Claus gently stroked his head, and the boy looked up at him and smiled. "I'm all right now," said Weekum. "Yes," replied Claus happily. "Now I will put you into a warm bed, and you must sleep until morning, when I will carry you back to your mother." "May the cat sleep with me?" asked the boy. "Yes, if you wish it to," answered Claus. "It's a nice cat," Weekum said, smiling as Claus tucked the blankets around him, and presently the little one fell asleep and the wooden toy in his arms. When morning came, the sun claimed the Laughing Valley and flooded it with his rays. So Claus prepared to take the lost child back to his mother. "May I keep the cat, Claus?" asked Weekum. "It's nicer than real cats. It doesn't run away or scratch or bite. May I keep it?" "Yes, indeed," answered Claus, pleased that the toy he had made could give pleasure to a child. So he wrapped the boy and the wooden cat in a warm cloak, perching the bundle upon his own broad shoulders. Then he trampled through the snow and the drifts of the valley and across the plain to the poor cottage where Weekum's mother lived. "See, Mama!" cried the boy as soon as he entered. "I've got a cat!" The good woman wept tears of joy over the rescue of her darling and thanked Claus many times for his kind act. So he carried a warm and happy heart back to his home in the valley. That night he said to Puss, "I believe the children will love the wooden cats almost as well as the real ones. They can't hurt them by pulling their tails and ears. I'll make another." So this was the beginning of his great work. The next cat was better than the first. While Claus sat willing it out, the yellow Ryl came in to make him a visit. And so pleased was he with the man's skill that he ran away and brought several others of his fellows. There sat Red Ryl, the Black Ryl, the Green Ryl, and the Blue Ryl, and the Yellow Ryl in a circle on the floor, while Claus whittled and whistled and the wooden cat grew into shape. "If it could be made the same color as the real cat, no one would know the difference," said the Yellow Ryl thoughtfully. "The little ones maybe would not know the difference," replied Claus, pleased with the idea. We'll pause the story there about how the Ryls helped Claus color the toys, and we'll complete that story the next time we get together here on SantaClausSays.net. There's our chimes, the glockenspiel, that remind us that Twinkles is reminding us that it's now time for our letter to Santa. I want to remind you that you can send your letter to Santa here through my website, SantaClausSays.net. You just go there and there's a place to leave a voicemail. And I will answer your voicemail. There's a place to leave a text, and I get those texts on my purple cell phone, and I will return your text. Or you can leave me a email at SantaClausSays.net/present, and I'll send you a present through the email. We also want you to know that this Saturday, the 9th, on the Saturdays in December of 2023, the 9th and the 16th and the 23rd at 9 a.m., we have live breakfast with Santa at 9 o'clock a.m. Eastern Time. Now, where you're at, it may be a different time, but your parents can help you look up the time zone. But please, you can have breakfast with me. I'll have my hot cocoa and my cookies. That's my breakfast, and I want you to leave that for me on Christmas Eve. Hot cocoa and cookies. But right now, it's time to listen to our letter to Santa, and it's a real short one. It goes, "Dear Santa, why do you come down a chimney? Mikey." Ho, 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 ho. Oh, Mikey. Lots of children and lots of people around the world wonder how that happens. It's magic. And here's the wonderful thing, Mikey, that Santa comes to your house in magical ways, whether you have a chimney or not. If you have a doorway or some way, there's many ways for Santa to get to your house and to leave you surprises. You may have a wish list, and I listen to your wish list, but I also like you to know that Santa is full of surprises, and I have surprises for you because I love you. But I'm glad to hear your wishes, so please send me your letters, and I may read them here on SantaClausSays.net. Send me your voicemail or your text messages or your email at SantaClausSays.net. And some of you may want to take advantage that we have an opportunity for you to have a Santa Claus video or a Santa Claus video chat as well. You can find out more about that at SantaClausSays.net. There's our chimes, boys and girls, our glockenspiel, which tells us about time to say goodbye for this episode of SantaClausSays.net. We come to you every single day during the Christmas time of 2023, all the way through Christmas. When we're doing three things: sharing Christmas cheer, we're reading a wonderful story, The Adventures of Santa Claus, the life and the adventures of Santa Claus, and we're reading letters to Santa. And you can all participate in all that by going to my website, SantaClausSays.net. Remember that Santa Claus loves you, Santa Claus listens to you, and Santa Claus is always for you, the children of the world of all ages. Until next time, boys and girls, this is Santa Claus, and Santa Claus says, be good for goodness sakes. Goodbye now, boys and girls. We'll see you next time here on Santa Claus Says. Goodbye.
You're special to Santa Claus, just like Sprinkles. Get on Santa's nice list at SantaClausSays.net and watch Santa Claus Says on YouTube. Tell him Sprinkles sent you.